book co-authored by Mrs. Roberta Davidson Williams and Mrs. Addie Moore Morrow. When I look back on my life, it is interesting to see that the winding path I walked took me in directions that I could not have imagined. I always wanted to be a social worker. It started from the wounded birds caught by my cat Mitzi that I nursed back to health. I assisted my peers at school who got into fights and were being bullied at school. I had the urge to help, which I realize now was possibly a gift I was given that needed to be developed as my relationship with Christ grew.
Hey, we have a fantastic interview for you right now with an amazing author who was lucky enough to collaborate on this fantastic book here with her best friend. They've been friends since university. Some of us, we have lost track of someone we met last week. So thank you so much for joining us. It's Roberta Davidson Williams, right?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And if you don't know, for those in the know, her father was a Canadian railway porter. I don't know how much that impacted you, where it's one of those things where you might have had like a love of travel because then you went to Michigan, even though you grew up in Canada, and then you ended up in the Caribbean. So there's so much here, and I have a feeling it's in this book.
Yes.
So what would have been like the inspiration? Because I mean, a lot of us, writing by yourself is going to be really difficult.
Yeah.
So now you and your friend love each other enough and get along enough to collaborate on a book. How did that start?
Well, Mrs. Morrow, Addie Morrow, she approached me, this is my good friend, and said to me that she feels God is telling her she needs to write her story of, basically her testimony. And she says, I know 3 other women who I think have great stories to tell. And so we started off like that. I was hemming and hawing because I said, I'm not a writer. I've never done anything like this. But gradually it came to me. I prayed about it and everything. And I realized, I said, but maybe this is my opportunity to tell people what God has done. I'm not a person to jump up in church and do testimonies. I get too emotional. So I said, maybe this is my way of doing it. And my dear, it was such a fantastic journey for me and for both of us as we began to sit down. And all of this happened in COVID. All of this happened in COVID. And we sat down and we started to look back at ourselves and all the different things that have happened. It's an amazing journey. It was an amazing, amazing journey. And that's how we all started. Two of the others had to drop out, unfortunately. But the 2 of us stuck with it. And it was about a year of us doing this. And it finally came out. And when the first comment came that they loved this book and it was such an inspiration, wow, that just did everything. Yes.
Amazing. So also, so this was released September 27th last year.
Yes, yeah.
Ooh, so the 1-year anniversary is coming up. And I mean, what's better than one? There's 2, right? Because your best friend, Mrs. Morrow, hers is angelic testimonies, but yours is the Lord is the shade upon my right hand.
Right, yeah, that's
so what
a
is
scripture.
the significance of that for you?
Well, it's just that from the Psalm 121, the Lord is my keeper. He is a shade upon my right hand. In other words, he has been there with me the whole time. And I say in the book, even when I wasn't so close to him, my mind wasn't right there, he was there. He was watching, he was directing. And as my spiritual growth began to really develop, those are the things I realized. I said, but you were there all the time. You could have turned your back on me, but he didn't. And he has led me to amazing places, like this country right here, where, everything opened up for me. My mission here, and I know, was the Guard Center. That for 28 years. I was able to work with young people and give them second chances and help them to develop and make a life for themselves. That, to me, was my mission.
See, it's one of those things where And this is how we know that, I mean, some people don't want to call it God or higher power or whatever the creator is to you. But I was talking to you and I was just like, oh my goodness, a Canadian. And then I don't know what page I saw guard. And then I just looked up and I was like, wait a second. Do you know my stepmom? Have we met? Because I took 2 courses at the Guard Center, in 2021. And I think randomly somebody was like, oh, she's Canadian. And I was like, so yes, I think that's amazing that you have dedicated, after everything you've been through, you've dedicated a part of yourself and have decided to come and give back to a community that. So with your father and your mother, is there like lineage in the Caribbean?
No, actually, no. We're not quite sure, but we believe that on my father's side, it was either the Underground Railway or through the Loyalists. We're not sure. We still are trying to track that down. But my mother was American. My mother grew up in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and thing. So a lot of her family and everything are from the States. They were slaves in the States. But yeah, it's a fascinating story.
It really is. There's more reasons to get this book. But now I feel like I need to figure out which 23andMe or Ancestral.com that you need to take. Because we need to figure out where your parents, how far back it goes, because that would be incredible to find out where the DNA is.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually did a blood test.
What did it say?
So, well, it's given me various parts of Africa and everything. So, but I really need to dig deeper, which I haven't done.
Yeah, because we can all do that. We can say, yes, various parts of that.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
But I think also and also we can say that God moved through your life because you and Addie met and you had that person at university that you have in your life up to now. So what was the motivation for you to go to Eastern, leaving, the relative calm of Canada for that rough and tumble neighbor to the south of us?
Well, to be honest with you, I wrote to a number of universities, and Eastern Michigan was the one who accepted me. The 2 that I wrote in Montreal, the waiting list was so long, so I didn't get accepted there, which I know now is a blessing because it moved me out. It moved me out. And, well, as I said in the book, going to the United States was a shocker. And I went at a time when Martin Luther King was just killed. The Vietnam War was on. The campuses, university campuses, had exploded with marches and strikes and everything. And so that is what I entered. And, of course, that image, that's still that image of the Jim Crow with the lynching, and of course Emmett Till, that young boy.
He was 14.
All of that was in my mind and there's not a day you go by without realizing that you're different.
Yeah.
That's the sad part about it.
Yeah.
But one thing that my girlfriend has said in her book, she's a counselor, and she said that, what do we have to do that we don't hate ourselves? That we don't hate others for what they did. And she goes through a process in the book that you really, really have to fight that we have to continue to love. And that's where Christ comes in. You have to continue to love.
Ooh, because especially when you said that there were moments where maybe you weren't as close to God as you would have liked to have been. I struggled with that as well too, because I think I am a little bit too emotional, and so when things happen to me, around me, to that person, I don't even know you, I'm starting to be like, it's not fair, it's not right.
Exactly.
I don't think I could have survived what you have, and so inspiring. The hair on the back of my neck is like, ooh. So I think honestly, this is going to be the next book that people need to get. So how do we get this book?
Well, it's here. It's at Best of Books. It's also at the Methodist Bookstore. It's on Amazon. And I just found out the other day that the Target store is selling them. I said,
are you getting these royalties?
That was interesting. Well, they say that's what's going to happen, so, Okay. But, yeah, we're very excited with the sales so far. And I also did something at the church, my church, Spring Gardens, Moravian Church. So a number of persons have bought there and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking up who your publisher is, and so you can
yeah,
the knocking on the door and say, excuse me, we're at Target, we're at Le Target.
Yeah. No, they actually monitor all of that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure we take care of our own here.
Book Baby is the publisher.
Book Baby. Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. I want to pick your brains and find out everything, and definitely read this and just bask in your knowledge and the experiences you've had. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Such a pleasure. And of course, thank you for joining us, and hopefully you'll stick around for more.